Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Now, famously, of course, computers don't feel. I mean, they don't even think. They just do what we program them to do. But as you'll all know, we can now program them to do an increasingly amazing range of things. So including, it seems, being aware of emotion. And I am now going to hand the stage over for the next 40 minutes to talk about hybrid intelligence to the company Microsoft. Please welcome their Vice President of Worldwide Education, Anthony Salcito.
My mic is coming on, thank you. I am super happy to be here at BETT. Are you guys happy to be at BETT? This is always an amazing opportunity for us to celebrate great educators around the world who are doing more to help their students, to hear and learn from school leaders who are driving change and transformation in their area or system or country. It's also a great opportunity for annual events like this to pause and reflect on the progress we've made year over year. We're in a new decade, 2020, and maybe I did the bad thing. I reflected on my time at BETT and realized, in addition to that I'm getting quite old, I've been at BETT for 10 years. This is my 10th year at BETT. And I thought about, what kind of progress are we making? Are we changing the landscape in our classrooms and beyond? And certainly we recognize that technology is transforming and doing more, faster, cheaper, better across all the objects and activities that you see across the show floor at BETT. It's exciting, a little daunting for some educators perhaps, thinking about the complexity of all that thing. But it got me to reflect that the pace that we need to keep is not just thinking about technology, it's about shifting the narrative of what technology is capable for. When I think back on not only the last decade, but really my 30 years of working with education transformation in schools around the world, I reflect that most of that has been on serving the schools, the systems, and the classroom first. We're going to bring technology in and hope educators change, hope it impacts and shifts students. In addition to thinking differently, we've got to shift what technology is now capable of. With new technologies in focus, like data and AI, the availability of the cloud to extend the borders of the impact that we can make, we've got to have a different lens for how we think about student achievement and shift our focus. And really, that's what this session is all about, is recognizing the shift to embrace a hybrid intelligence, to extend our ability as humans to achieve more. And we're undergoing a great time of convergence. We see social and emotional learning blending with academic instruction. Schools embracing both the need for curriculum rigor and the importance of it celebrating and embracing student skills. And lastly, and perhaps most importantly, students are no longer sitting passively by to be taught. They're active. They want to make a difference in their communities in the world with not only their voice, and they're saying it louder and louder, but they want to be a part of change. They want to make a difference on the planet. And when we shift our focus on the technology landscape and the roadmap of all the vendors across BETT, on the foundation of driving human ingenuity, celebrating the need to support students on their journey far beyond the classroom, we can achieve more. It strikes me as schools struggle to bring data and AI into classrooms to celebrate the power of personalized learning for students, that we've got to lift our expectations beyond just learning outcomes. When we embrace the power of personalized learning, we're celebrating the ability for students to go far beyond the potential limited by a grade or a test or a class or a course, but to have them be active participants in changing the world. And technology is helping us do what we do best as humans: connect, collaborate, share. And increasingly, technology innovation is helping us connect to our emotions, how we feel and respond, and when we're at our best, connecting with others. Now, we also have to recognize as we make the shift that we've got to celebrate and embrace the amazing potential within our students. Last year on this stage at BETT, I had the great pleasure, and many of you who attended may remember Shagun Maheshwari, a 15-year-old, she's 16 years old now, from Canada. And she's doing a simple thing like understanding genome sequencing, patterning with AI to help cure cancer and advance cancer research. And she, like many of us, was impacted by a family member with cancer, and it motivated her to learn AI and data and genomics. And we've got to empower students to think about technology as an enabler for their potential and their passion. And students are doing far more than speaking out. They're creating and innovating with technology to solve real problems the planet is facing. And we all recognize that we need help, and we need innovators and entrepreneurs in all of our societies. And we've got to shift our focus from grades to creating the foundation for change in our world. And students have the potential. And we've got to celebrate every voice, every one of us. We often talk about a talent gap that exists around the world, and there is no such thing. The gap is not the talent. We have the talent. It's in all of our classrooms around the world. We've got to connect that talent with opportunity, with expectations, and with technology empowering their dreams to achieve more. And when we think about every student, we've got to recognize that far too many students around the world are not part of this conversation. And we've got to work to bring them up. And this is perhaps most true in areas of conflict. And conflict-affected youth have been far too long left out of the innovations and potential with technology, but no longer thanks to some of the efforts our next speaker will share about what we can do to not only show what's possible with conflict-affected students and children, but to really provide a template and example for all of us. So please join me in welcoming Leila Toplic to talk more about how we can extend our value to all students.
Thank you. Thank you, Anthony. Hello. So I want to start by giving you some context for why I'm here today. 25 years ago, in 1995, some of you might remember what you were doing back then, I left my childhood home in former Yugoslavia. I fled my country to save my life, and I found safety in a refugee camp in southern Hungary. That is where I spent a year of my life with my family, and I also had the opportunity to teach English and art to conflict-affected youth. It was in the refugee camp back in the mid-90s where I discovered for the first time computers and software. And that's what led me on the path of technology. And why I'm excited to be here with you today to talk about how we might use technology to enable all of our conflict-affected youth to get back on track and to thrive. Now you might think this won't be interesting to you, so it's a good time to check email, but I think this will be relevant to you, and here's why. This group of conflict-affected youth is not only a significant part of our society. We're talking about millions of young people who represent our collective future. But they're also representative of the types of needs and challenges that many of our youth will face in terms of how they access learning, what they learn, and how they connect learning to meaningful real-world opportunities. They're also representative of the types of shifts that we need to make in education in order to enable all of our young people to thrive. And by solving for the needs of this group of youth and by learning from the solutions that we create, I think we can help all of our youth. Now, let me start by providing some context for conflict-affected youth before I share some of the solutions we're creating. Today, an unprecedented 70.8 million people have been forced from home. Among them are 25.9 million refugees, over half of whom are under the age of 18. They're children and adolescents. And just during these 40 minutes that we have together, 1,200 people, children, parents, teachers, will be forcibly displaced due to conflict and persecution. And not only that the number of displaced is growing, but also the amount of time that a person spends as a refugee has increased to 26 years. So what that means for young people is that conflicts and displacement have disrupted the time in their lives that is typically dedicated to what we're focusing on here, which is learning and development. Millions of young people have been forced to drop out of school, work in very difficult conditions to support themselves and their families, marry early, and abandon their hopes and dreams. And young people are very much aware that this loss cannot be recovered. Yet, what I've heard over and over again from the conflict-affected youth in places like Lebanon, Jordan, Kenya, is that they're eager to get back on track. They're optimistic, they're creative, they're hungry to learn. They're also hungry to contribute to their communities as future social entrepreneurs, as business leaders, as innovators, as teachers. And to make that possible, young people have told me that they need three things. They need opportunities to grow to their full potential. This includes being able to access education anywhere and any time. They need access to meaningful work. And there's a real sense of urgency to acquire in-demand skills quickly and connect them to viable economic opportunities, whether it's in the communities where youth live or remotely. They also need to feel inspired to lead change. And that includes access to meaningful opportunities for their voices to be heard in their communities around the world. That also includes young people becoming active participants and creators, not just beneficiaries and consumers of the solutions created elsewhere and for them. So how do we begin delivering on this? At NetHope, I work in NetHope, which is a nonprofit technology consortium of 57 global NGOs. Organizations like Save the Children, Plan International, Oxfam, the Norwegian Refugee Council. We believe that technology has the potential to be a game changer in how young people access and experience learning, how they become active participants and creators, and how we connect learning to what is meaningful to them, and oftentimes that's work. And while technology is not a silver bullet, it can be a powerful tool and equalizer. So let me share with you one example of how we might use some of the AI capabilities to meet both the urgent and ongoing needs of conflict-affected youth. Now, the Middle East and North Africa is one of the regions where I've spent a lot of time over the past 3 years. In that region, 15 million children between the ages of 5 and 14 are out of school. Add to that another 10 million that are at risk of dropping out, plus the millions of youth that are out of school and working. For these young people, school is oftentimes out of reach. Some have told me that going to a classroom is a luxury. mentors, role models, teachers are not available where young people live. And the abundance of the learning resources, I've seen so much here on the show floor today, that abundance is just not visible and accessible to them. This photo is from my visit to Zatri camp in northern Jordan, where about 85,000 Syrians have found safety. And youth were excited to meet with us for two reasons. One, to be able to practice English. They're in an English class. They don't get a chance to practice conversational English often because they don't have role models and mentors there. Second, they wanted some guidance on where to find online courses in digital literacy and social media marketing, because some of them have set up small businesses in the camp and they wanted to promote them. I share this to emphasize that it is urgent for us to work together to transform learning from one-size-fits-all, place and time-constrained learning, meaning classroom, to learning that is just in time, that is personalized, that is aligned with real-world opportunities like work, and that is accessible for any of the youth anywhere and any time. So to address this issue of learning content being discoverable and accessible to the young people, we're creating a chatbot, which is an artificial intelligence software that can simulate a conversation or a chat with the end user using natural language like text and voice. Our youth collaborators in Lebanon, you see three of them here, have given this chatbot a persona of an older, wiser brother. I guess that would be somebody they want to take guidance from, and they've named it Hakim. Now, Hakim is designed by NetHope and one of our members in the Regional Refugee Council. It's a collaboration with Microsoft, a professor and a group of students at the University College Dublin, and conflict-affected youth. Hakim is enabling young people to discover and access online learning courses in English, in art, in engineering and business, and be able to do that anywhere, anytime, at their own pace. So whether it's on the bus, at home, after work or house chores, at a cafe that has internet connectivity, or in safe spaces and labs that have been set up by humanitarian agencies. What's more is Hakim's library of courses that are sourced from many different organizations and institutions. I think some of them are here today. This library is tailored to the context in which the young people live. The library includes a number of courses in their native language, that's Arabic. Many of the courses are available for free because young people cannot afford to pay those fees. They're downloadable offline because connectivity can be an issue. And they're aligned with their interests and with the local market opportunities around work and higher education. Now, this is a very simple example of AI, specifically AI capability called natural language processing. And the reason why we chose to use AI capabilities in Skype, after looking at many other solutions and even creating a website as a repository of learning resources, is because AI can actually help us do a number of things better. For example, it can help us extend the reach and augment the capacity of humanitarian workers and local educators and enable us to provide equal support to all of the youth in need, to young girls, to young people who live in remote areas. Also, chatbots like Hakim can provide an experience that is interactive and engaging, where young people, through a conversation, can discover new learning content. And they're already used to chatting using Skype and WhatsApp and Facebook. And just like a learning companion, Hakim can also notify young people when new courses are available that might align with their interests and re-engage them in learning, increasing the likelihood of them becoming lifelong learners. Now, I want to leave you with two key points that really matter. One is, how do we design these solutions in a responsible and relevant way? And second, what does it mean for educators? What do these solutions, what does AI mean for educators? So I believe that as designers, we have to take responsibility for the solutions we're creating, because technology is never neutral. It is always representative of our values and our biases. And I want to share with you a couple of characteristics of responsible innovation that we uncovered while working on Hakim. For start, responsible, relevant innovation starts by including all of the diverse set of stakeholders whose values need to be represented in that solution. So with Hakim, that meant including not just technologists, but also humanitarian workers and youth. So in addition to inclusion of diverse set of stakeholders, some of the other characteristics of responsible innovation are transparency around what is being built and why. Why are we building certain features and what are the value trade-offs? Ability to anticipate possible consequences. Who will be impacted if we develop a solution like this? And how do we mitigate those risks? And then responsive design. That means having an iterative process in place that allows for space for a debate, especially around conflicting values, and for the changes to be made based on the feedback. And we did make a lot of changes based on the feedback from the youth. So the point here is really to be intentional about designing solutions, including AI solutions, in a way that they're transparent, they're inclusive, they're anticipatory, and they're responsive. Now, for the educators in the room, as somebody who had the opportunity to teach and really benefit from being a teacher, I see solutions like Hakim not as a replacement for educators, but as a tool that can amplify our efforts and augment our work, as a tool that can help us do more, be more productive, make better decisions, and free up our time to do the work that actually matters, but like focusing on the individual needs of the learners. So with that, I want to invite you to join me in the Microsoft booth right after the keynote so we can explore how we can work together to transform education to enable all of our youth to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Leila. Thank you very much for sharing your story, the work being done, and frankly, the work that needs to continue to be done to help lift every student voice. I was really impressed by the thoughtfulness on responsible innovation, the way in which they thought through students' reaction and emotions as they were interacting with the chatbot innovation, Hakim. And we've got to do a better job of finding the synthesis between students' emotional state and psychology and the achievement that we want to drive in our classrooms. And to take us through this next section, I'd like to shift to really bringing the power of social and emotional learning and psychology together and seeing technology's role to drive a difference. Please join me in welcoming Holzapfel to take us through our next part of the session.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Anthony. I'm super excited to be here today. And I'm always energized to be at BETT, to see so many educators all joined together in one space, connecting with each other, learning from each other, and sharing ideas. For the last 2 years, we've talked about the class of 2030 and life-ready learning, and the evolving skill set that today's students will need to thrive in work and in life when they graduate. The importance of social and emotional learning and how technologies such as immersive learning and collaboration tools and AI can help the students acquire these important skills. So as we enter this new decade, we're excited to explore the intersection of human emotions and technology and how they converge, and how the next generation of educators will use these technologies to empower the next generation of students. Our next guest explores the intersection of psychology and computer science. He's working to bridge the gap between human emotion and computer. He's designing algorithms for sensing human behavior and developing technologies that can help understand mental health and improve online learning. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Daniel McDuff.
How many of you have experienced being overwhelmed at times as an educator, or have students that express an ever-growing workload? I'm sure it's not hard to think of times that that's the case. With our to-do lists growing and more things demanding our attention and energy. The most profound technologies are those that disappear. They weave themselves into the fabric of everyday life until they become indistinguishable from it. This is a quote from Mark Weiser, the former head of the innovation powerhouse at Xerox PARC. And it's so true. The internet, social media, they all fit with this description. But I think it's missing something. Good technology, great educational technology should work for us. It should help us achieve what we want to do. But so often when we think of tech, we think of devices and services that engage us, entertain us, but are hungry for our attention, grabbing as much of it as possible. But shouldn't technology empower us? Shouldn't it increase our productivity, even increase our overall health and well-being? There are many teams across Microsoft, including our own, working towards that goal. Building speech and dialogue interfaces, gesture recognition, and new forms of controllers to make computing accessible for as many people as possible. Using AI to improve information search and document and knowledge creation in order that when humans collaborate with these models, it gives us almost superhuman powers to learn and create new things. And using augmented reality, embodied virtual agents, and robotics, so that when we do interface with technology, we can do it in the moment and not be glued to screens that disconnect us from other people. I want to give you one example of this that we call focus agents. This is a digital personal assistant that uses AI, and you can think about it in the context, for instance, of lesson planning. It's an agent that talks to a user at the beginning of a day and asks them what they want to achieve. Then using that information, it automatically schedules time for them to focus on those tasks. Later in the day, when the tasks approach, another dialogue is invoked and helps the user ramp up for that task, discussing what specifically they want to get done and also how they're feeling about the task. At the end of the session, it will also help them ramp down. If they hadn't finished everything they wanted to, it can plan future sessions or just talk to them about how they feel about that period of time. It also blocks distractions and other things during the focus time to assist people in completing their objectives. What we notice with this device and technology is that people not only become more productive, they're able to focus for longer, but they also have reduced stress. Those tasks that they use in their focus time no longer bleed into their own personal life, and they have less anxiety about forgetting things that they need to get done and feel are really important. We're building fully embodied versions of these agents all the way through to traditional application-based UIs, because we know that not everyone is going to want the same type of human-computer interface in every context. Another way that AI can help us is in connection and collaboration. Effective groups not only achieve their objectives, but are also inclusive. They encourage participation, and the quality and tone of that interaction matters. We're building tools that leverage these AI models for understanding nonverbal behavior to help reveal some of these unquantified dynamics that occur when we interact in groups, whether that's in the classroom or remotely online. And by revealing this information, we're not being prescriptive about how people should behave, but potentially we could reveal some of the unconscious biases that we have when we interact with other people, or simply allow a group leader to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to participate and give their opinion when also managing a complex agenda and trying to get everything done in a group. To summarize, AI and humans collaborating with those systems has huge potential. But what's most important here is that these systems work for us. They help us achieve what we want to do. They don't distract us longer than we need to in order to get those things done. And by doing so, they can even help improve our overall health, our emotional well-being, by relieving us of stress and other types of things that come with all of the work that we need to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Daniel. It's incredible to see these systems that can interpret and respond intelligently to human needs. I can see how these kinds of tools can really transform learning and help the students and the teachers connect in a deeply human way. Technologies like the ones that colleagues like Daniel are working on can enable students of all abilities to take ownership of their learning journey, both inside and outside the classroom. Now, there are many factors driving some of the dramatic changes that we're seeing in education, be it migration, be it changes in economic circumstances, be it advances in technology, and, as we've seen through our work in the class of 2030, the evolving skill set that the students will need as they graduate. So as we enter this new and exciting decade that's ahead of us, we really wanted to examine how all of these dynamics impact the profession of teaching. So we teamed up again with the Economist Intelligence Unit and embarked on a new project together called the Staff of 2030 and Life-Ready Teaching. As part of this, we reviewed surveys and interview results from more than 3,000 students, 5,000 educators, and 85 subject matter experts from all around the world. We also made sure that 1,000 of these educators came from a group whose voice is often not heard. And these are the pre-service and early career teachers. What we learned overall was that this new generation of teachers clearly understands the importance of prioritizing social and emotional learning, of addressing global issues, and of using technology to solve some of the really important problems. And so as we examine some of the opportunities and challenges that lie ahead for the teaching profession, let's look at some of the key facts and dynamics that are shaping them. We know that teaching as a profession is expected to grow due to population growth, migration, and many other factors. Teaching is also predicted to be one of the professions least likely to be impacted by automation. So for all the teachers in the room, there's no robot taking away your job. In fact, worldwide, there already is a shortage of 69 million teachers. And here in the UK, a recent study found that about 40% of secondary school leaders already report a shortage in qualified teachers. In addition, 2/3 of the teachers leaving the profession are leaving for reasons other than retirement. And to make matters really worse, while we know that about 70% of the job in 2030 will require technical skills, the early in career STEM teachers who are so critical for helping the young generation be prepared for the digital economy, they're leaving in the largest numbers. So clearly, there is a supply and demand crisis going on in the teaching profession. So we wanted to better understand that and wanted to better understand the teachers themselves as well as some of the dynamics of the teaching profession, both today as well as tomorrow. First of all, there are currently up to 5 generations working in the workforce at the same time, creating a very unique generational dynamic. The 2 youngest generations, the millennials and Generation Z, will compose about 70% of the global workforce as we move through this next decade, while the other previous 3 generations are also still in the workforce. On top of that, Generation Z, the youngest of these generations, is sitting in the K-12 classrooms as students. They're sitting in higher education institutions, preparing to be a teacher, and they're already in the staff room as teachers. And as Generation Z is the largest generation ever, they will soon be in the staff room in very large numbers. So this means that teaching as a profession is becoming a lot younger. And these teachers are incredibly values-driven and motivated by doing something that they consider important or innovative. So these teachers are not human resources. They're professionals with aspirations and expectations. Most importantly, they expect to drive change. They expect to drive change by spending more time working on life skills like social and emotional skills. They expect to drive change by raising the students' awareness, understanding, and empathy for global issues. And they expect to drive change by using technology to create more personalized, inclusive, and immersive learning experiences. Almost all the teachers that we spoke with expect their classrooms to become more diverse. With that, they're required to embrace teaching multicultural classrooms by applying inclusive learning and teaching methods. But only 39% of them feel adequately prepared to handle some of the challenges that this diversity can bring. 30% of teachers across 48 countries reported that they actually do not feel prepared at all to handle the challenges of teaching a multicultural classroom. At the same time, this generation is highly motivated and tech confident, but they see some challenges in bringing these aspects together to drive impact in the students' lives as well as in society more broadly. The causes for that are largely time, training, and the pressure of expectation once they start teaching in the classroom. The pre-service teachers clearly identified technology as critically important in the classroom. Even 60% of them look to apply technology to teach higher order thinking skills. But again, only about 38% of them feel that their teacher training had equipped them adequately to use technology effectively in the classroom. So here there's a really important opportunity for educators to join some of the interactive professional learning communities and apply collaboration tools, be it Teams or some of the video tools like Flipgrid, to keep their ongoing training going and current. This young generation of teachers that we spoke with were very clear in how they see the top benefits of technology in the classroom. First of all, they reported that they think technology enables more engaging and inclusive learning experiences. We saw from earlier research that immersive and collaborative learning experiences can help the students develop the social and emotional skills that are becoming so critical, as well as process information faster. Technology also allows them to have self-directed learning. Voice and choice is incredibly important to this next generation. And AI-powered tools that can help with reading and language skills will allow students of all abilities and all aspects of diversity to take ownership of their educational journey, and for the teachers to become an important mentor and guide on the way for them. And thirdly, technology will prepare the students with the skills for a tech-centric labor market. New future-ready skills will cover the variety from STEM skills to emotional intelligence. And studies have shown that students' performance increases when technology is applied properly in the classroom. And the experiences that the students get in the classroom prepare them for the real-world challenges. So these benefits can help the students with self-directed, purposeful learning experiences, which is exactly what the students told us in the Class of 2030 work as the things that they're looking for in their education journey. The full research report on the staff of 2030 will be released in March, but the signals that we're seeing are coming through loud and clear. The role of the teacher remains critical in building new, future-ready skills in reimagined learning environments. We expect that this large, digitally native, and purpose-driven generation will accelerate the transformation that we're already seeing in education. And technology will transform learning, and it will drive the aspirations of the staff of 2030 to deliver the student-centered experiences for the Class of 2030 and help the students and the teachers connect in a deeply human way. So this transformation that we are seeing in education and in the teaching profession is a human transformation. It is a transformation that is powered by the convergence between machines and minds, between artificial intelligence and human emotion. And undoubtedly, the Class of 2030 needs the staff of 2030 to unleash their full potential and help them change the world. There's never been a better time to be a student or a teacher. Thank you.